was born a beautiful, magnificent baby. It was devastating. No mother wants to accept that something is wrong with her child.
So she was born completely healthy. At that point, she was smiling, giggling, interacting. She was diagnosed at around 12 or 13 months. It was awful, but we really went through stages as if someone died. I mean, you really go through the stages of grief for your child who's still with you. So you're grieving the diagnosis, but you're also pre-grieving, the child's death.
After my first child was born, everything seemed to be very nice, fine, perfect. Recipe Ben. Every day, another deterioration, another step down. Finally, it took 2 years till we really got the diagnosis. Tay-Sachs.
I've been part of the Dor Yeshorim program from its very inception, and I am absolutely amazed and gratified by what the program has been able to accomplish.
Dor Yeshorim is probably the first and also the most successful organization to have utilized genetic testing to reduce the frequency of different genetic diseases.
They provide genetic testing right now with a focus on the Orthodox Jewish community for genetic counseling for premarital counseling.
In any small community, there can be a founder's effect in which the particular disease alleles that were present at the establishment of a small population can persist in that population if they intermarry. So you inherit 23 chromosomes from mom, 23 chromosomes from dad, and most of the time everything is okay. When there is the same gene mutated in mom's family and in dad's family, then you have a risk of inheriting what's termed a recessively inherited genetic disease.
Because a family may or may not have ever had an encounter with a recessive genetic disease, doesn't mean that they can't be carrying the trait.
The human being today has somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 to 25,000 genes that all together work to create a functional normal human. Now with this many genes in play, you can well imagine that there's many opportunities for something to go wrong.
The unit in one of the large hospitals in Brooklyn, New York, Kingsbrook Hospital, that was a ward for young patients with Tay-Sachs disease.
This is a terrible metabolic disorder which afflicts young children and is uniformly fatal.
They really are not responsive anymore. Some children develop seizures. They have difficulty swallowing. They have difficulty in all of the physiological functions, so that they are indeed reduced to a vegetative state.
We only have a 17 bed, sometimes come to 20 bed, always full. The treatment is still far away and seems very expensive. The best way is prevention.
And how would you go about doing that? How do you reduce the incidence of a genetic disease? Well, probably the easiest way to go about it is to do genetic testing of individuals before they marry and have children.
A young man and a young woman who are interested in the possibility of being married and having kids together would both consent to donating blood and having a series of genetic tests done. At the conclusion of the test, neither one is told specifically which disease genes were present in their sample, but rather whether that person and their potential match have any potential genetic incompatibility, meaning whether they both carry the same disease gene. So Tay-Sachs disease, for example, was relatively common in the Ashkenaz Jewish population. In the communities in which this type of genetic testing is being done, you're just not seeing kids born with Tay-Sachs disease. So absolutely, it's been a highly successful program.
The director of pediatrics took my hand and said, "The surprise for you is we closed the unit." And I said, "How could you close the unit?" And her answer was, "Because we didn't have any more children coming in."
The testing program at Dor Yeshorim has been so successful that the incidence of Tay-Sachs disease has been reduced to such a degree that there was no longer a need for that service and the ward was closed.
But what we cannot do is we can't stop the carrier status from passing on. So there will always be a need for Dor Yeshorim.
We need to make sure that this organization is continuing till the day of Mashiach Tzidkeni in order to prevent Chas v'Sholom future tragedies from Klal Yisrael.
Rabbi Eckstein, because he went through terrible, terrible pain by losing 4 children to Tay-Sachs, he decided to start this organization 26 years ago.
Rabbi Eckstein took his personal tragedy of losing 4 children, watching them die before they were 4 years old, and he made sure that others would not have to live through such an occurrence.
This is the most important thing that you could do for your child, for their future, and for your grandchildren.
You know, as beautiful as these children are, and any child is, and we all have our purpose for being in this world. We know that being able to come into the world to do mitzvos and to actively live our lives is what we want for our children. We know she's not comfortable the way she should be comfortable, and would she want to get up and walk around? Absolutely. Would she want to come sit at the table with us? I believe so. And asking why did this have to happen? You know, why us? Why our child? And nobody wants to have to ask those questions. It's something that's preventable. There's so many other diseases out there, so many things that can happen to our children. If this is something that you could prevent, how could you not?
The Pasuk tells us, Dor Yeshorim Yevayrach. That's the greatest compliment. That's what David HaMelech writes in Tehillim Kuf Yud Beis. A person who is dedicated to mitzvahs, a person who is dedicated to Hashem, his generations will be blessed. And isn't that what we want for our children? We want them to be blessed beruchnius and begashmius. And Dor Yeshorim is making sure, as much as possible, to make sure that our children will be there for us, will be zeicha to see how they have their wonderful simchas, bar mitzvahs and bas mitzvahs and weddings. And this is all facilitated by the great organization of Dor Yeshorim.
That the reason they could look into the smiling face of a healthy child is because Dor Yeshorim was there to make sure that that would happen.